Hey guys, what's going on? It's Scott, and welcome to video 2 of the bent press tutorial series. And we're going to dive a lot deeper into the bent press in this video. Now, if you didn't catch the first video, I want you to go back and take a look and make sure that you've gone through those mobility drills, and now you're going to be ready for the next progressions here. We're going to start to use the kettlebell, and we're going to build on the things that we did from the first video. So I'll try to get through this quickly. I don't want to rush it, but I do want to give you the tips, the progressions, the way that I learned how to do the bent press. Again, the bent press is a very exceptional exercise for strength and mobility. You're going to see a lot of that mobility here in this video. So let's get started. So what we're going to do, the first progression is you're going to start with a kettlebell. And what I want you to do is I want you to grab a light kettlebell. Do not go heavy here at all. Again, all we're trying to do is build the pattern and improve the mobility with the bent press here. So this is more mobility, but we are going to load it a little bit with a light kettlebell. So seriously, don't go heavy, get a very light kettlebell and work through these progressions. So the first thing you're going to do, I'm going to clean the kettlebell up to the rack position. And what we're going to do is we're going to get used to getting in the bent press rack. So you're going from the standard rack position, and for your feet, I'm going to have you turn both feet facing away from the side of the kettlebell. Okay, I'm not going to get it too much into the feet right now, but just for the purpose of these drills, turn them away. You're going to go from the rack position, and you're going to come away to the side rack position for the bent press. Again, light kettlebell, guys, seriously. And what you're going to do, a couple of keys about this is, the first thing is to fire your lats, both lats. This is really, really important. If you don't fire the lats with the kettlebell bent press, you're not going to be able to have an effective bent press. So this is really, really important. When you come out to that side rack, engage those lats. Fire the lats really, really hard. You want to keep your forearm in a vertical position. And you want to keep the shoulder down and the shoulder blade, the scapula, retracted. Okay, so let's review that again. So rack position, come out to the side rack, engage the lats, shoulder down, and scapula in a retracted position. You also want to think about, and by the way, both lats should be tight here, not just the side with the kettlebell. Think about tightening both lats. And that's going to help to actually tighten up your abdominal muscles as well. You want to think about keeping real tight, keeping really rigid and stable in your trunk region, okay? Because you want to think about it being kind of a moving plank, all right? Everything is coming from the hips, from the shoulders, and then everything is nice and stable in through your trunk. So come out, practice that position, rack to side rack to side rack position. Make sure that you, again, are really, really engaging those lats. Next thing, the next progression is you're going to do that same position, and what you're going to do is you're going to put your opposite hand on your hips. And what you're going to do is you're going to trigger your hips with your hand and move those hips back. So now you're in a side rack position, and now you're just going to drive those hips back. So let's come back to the rack, side rack, drive the hips back. This is progression number 2. So just think about hand in the hips and trigger the hips, driving those hands back. Side rack, drive the hips back. And you're just working on a little bit of motion here, okay? Those are the first 2 progressions. And again, I can't emphasize it enough that if you lose the contraction in the lats, you have to maintain that during the entire kettlebell bent press. Lat contraction, if you remember one thing from this video, it's that the lats must be contracted. So very, very important. All right. Now what you're going to do is we're going to go down to a half kneeling stance. If you remember that from the first video, we did some progressions. Actually, we did all the progressions in half kneeling. So we're going to go down to that half kneeling position. The knee in front is the side that the kettlebell is going to be on. So you're going to take that light kettlebell, you're going to bring it up to the rack position. You're gonna make sure that you're nice and square. And actually what I'm gonna have you do is rotate to 45 degrees. So you're gonna square off, then you're gonna rotate or pivot that back leg, windshield wiper the back leg to about 45 degrees. Now you're gonna go in the side rack position, okay? And you're just gonna get set in that side rack position. Square off, rack, pivot to 45, side rack, a little bit of hip mobility there, and that's it, okay? Pivot again, side rack, a little bit of hip mobility, square off, and that's your next progression. So you're getting used to the side rack position in a half kneeling stance. A little bit of hip mobility, not much, but you're getting a feel. We're building on getting a feel for the side rack position. All right, next thing, now we're gonna start to work on some mobility in a loaded pattern. So same thing, you're gonna windshield wiper the back leg to 45, side rack position. Now we're gonna do that same drill that we did from the first video, nice and slow, come down on the elbow. Lats contracted, very key, again, all right? You have to keep the lats contracted. You also wanna go nice and slow with this, okay? Do not rush the bent press. I think in the article, I talked about how there's a flow to the kettlebell bent press, there's a rhythm to the kettlebell bent press. You're gonna start to feel your rhythm, your groove. You're gonna come all the way down on the elbow. That lat is engaged, forearm vertical, and back. I'm gonna set the kettlebell down. It's a lot of stress, actually, just to maintain that position, the hip mobility. That's why when I do the bent press, and I'm not gonna talk about programming here, I'll talk about that later, or I'll write about that later, but for programming, I just do a few reps. You're not doing a lot of volume of the bent press because it's so taxing on your entire body, which that's one of the things that makes it really, really good. You don't have to do a lot of reps, and especially when you're getting up in a higher load with a heavier kettlebell, you'd be surprised that a rep or up to 5 reps, how much of a challenge that really is. So it's very, very taxing on your entire body. All right, so let me show you that one more time. Again, this is the 4th progression now. So square, you're gonna rotate to 45, you're gonna come around, get set and stable in that side rack position, and then nice and slow and steady, come down on the elbow and come back up. All right, now the last progression I'm going to show you in this video. So that was basically a side press variation. Now there's also a screw press variation of the bent press, and that's what I'm going to show you here. This is actually the way that I like to do it. I like to rotate down underneath the kettlebell. Remember, the bent press is really a positioning underneath the kettlebell as opposed to an actual press. And that's why I like this variation of the bent press. So we're doing just a drill here. So you're gonna rotate that leg back to 45 degrees. You're gonna get set and stable with the lats, with the trunk. Use your glutes as well. Make sure that the glutes are fired and tight. And now you're going to rotate underneath and back. Okay, come out to the side rack position, and my lats get really fatigued because of the lat use in this exercise. It's really amazing, even with a light kettlebell. And now you're going to rotate slowly, come underneath, and down. And let me do that one more time. Remember, the back leg is positioned at 45 degrees. The front leg is square, side rack position. And down. So that now we're starting to, you can see the difference there is the rotation of the shoulders underneath. You almost want the shoulders in line when you're doing that screw press variation, okay? Now you also want to work on these drills, as I mentioned in the first video, bilaterally. So do these drills and progressions on each side. Take them in the sequence that I've showed you. Again, the way that I'm going through these progressions is very specific in that they are building on top of one another. Now, in the next video, we are going to start to put everything together. There's more progressions, but we're going to start to put everything together, and you're going to see all the mobility and the stabilization things that we've been working on, how this comes together really nice for the bent press exercise. So make sure that you stay tuned for the next video, the third video in this series. You're going to see the bent press, you're going to see how this all comes together, and we're going to get you doing a nice, safe, clean, and mobile bent press exercise. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time in video 3 of the bent press progression series. Thanks for watching. Take care.